So let's talk about the whirlwind that happens right before closing. So we're just before closing, we did the pre-approval, we got the conditional approval, we did the home inspection, we did the appraisal, and all of that has come back fine. We sent in all of those documents that I talked about in a previous video, and now we're at what's called a clear to close. So when we're clear to close, everything is finalized with the loan. The appraisal came back fine. You may have already checked out all your inspection items that negotiated. That's complete. Sometimes you also inspect those at the final walkthrough. Again, you've sent all the documents that were needed, and you finally get correspondence from your lender basically saying, you're done. You're done. No more stress about sending documents, no more stress about the loan. Take a breath. They'll send along what's called a closing disclosure. Closing disclosure is very similar to the loan estimate, but it's the final version of the loan estimate, because in the title is the word estimate, so it can fluctuate depending on what might be changing in the transaction. So the closing disclosure should be locked down and finalized here for you at this point. They will also tell you how you're going to send your money to the title company. Most of the time it's either wire transfer or a cashier's check. Your agent or your lawyer will help you navigate sending the money and who you're sending it to. Keep in mind actually that some banks, and this is important, some banks have a limit on the amount you can wire transfer on a given day. So you don't want to be at the closing table prepared to wire transfer $100,000 only to discover that your bank has a limit of $50K a day. And I've seen that happen, so be aware. All right, back to the closing disclosure. If you're a details or numbers person, you may want to review your disclosure and compare it to your estimate. Compare the two side by side, see what's changed. Your real estate attorney will also usually do this with you at the closing. That happens almost all the time. Likely there are going to be some changes, right? Because again, one was an estimate and one is the final disclosure. But it will be very, very close. There shouldn't be this huge discrepancy. Like, for example, you may have been quoted $1,000 on your home insurance, but on the disclosure, it's $1,200. So the homeowner's insurance came up $200. That's an example of what you might see between the two documents. So I just don't want you to be caught off guard when things change at the final disclosure. So the closing is scheduled. Prior to the closing, you're going to do that final walkthrough of the home. This will be in your contract at the beginning. In some purchase and sale agreements, you're actually allowed to visit the property a couple times before closing to get like measurements, check paint swatches, etc. The seller has to provide that access if it's in the purchase and sale. You just have to give them reasonable notice. You're doing the final walkthrough. You'll see the condition of the home, likely do a final check of items that came up in the inspection that you negotiated with the seller, and then you're ready to close. You go to the closing table with your attorney and your agent. You sign 1 million documents. In some states it's live, in some places it's all digital. I prefer when it's live because you can ask, and you should ask any questions at the closing table. And we will talk about the closing in that video.